Hello, everyone. We are the Wāhine Collective. We're filming our 4th episode, and I'm here with, well, my name is Liza, first of all. I'm here with
Lena,
Connie,
and on Zoom we have
Tati,
and Taylor.
Whoop whoop. Also, if you are on visual and you see our really aesthetic backdrop and decor, we would like to thank Island Bungalow for providing all of our decor. Also, thanks to Connie for bringing the plants as well.
Yeah,
it's
no
so
problem.
cute. Like, don't you like these bowls?
These are super cute. I think they're coconut. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the designs, it's like so intricate and so cute. But yeah, that's also thank you to Amarjeet from Island Bungalow. They have 2 stores. One of them is in Kailua and the second one is in Kaka'ako. Also, you might be seeing, oh, what are these awesome water you may be looking at? This is Hawaiian Springs Water. We would like to thank Hawaiian Springs Water because they are our beverage host for this episode. So thank you, Hawaiian Springs Water. As Connie takes a sip. Anyways, let's get started on our 4th episode of the 2nd season. I'm so excited. There's so many things going on in all of our lives. Some big things happening. Some things have happened. Who knows? But this episode is all about transitions. Each of us are going through a transition, have been in that transition stage already, or about to go into it. So let's talk about it today. Who would like to go first?
I vote Liza.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I talked too much for the past 5 minutes, but sure, I can go. So, okay. If you guys didn't know, I just graduated with my undergrad in communications from the UH Manoa in May 2021. And we're now in fall, and I have entered my first month of my master's of grad school. I know, and it's in the field of communications, which I'm like, I love communications, and that's why I wanted to go back and, further my education in that particular field. But the weird thing is that I started my undergrad taking classes all online, and then by the time I graduated, it was all on, did I say it was in person in my undergrad in the beginning, and then it transitioned to it being all online. So now coming into my graduate classes, I'm like, oh, we're still like back online, and it's so hard because you're kind of like on your own. And with the transition of it, I feel like I don't feel prepared as much as I did in my undergrad, because my professors are like, it's all on your own. Like, do the assignments, do the readings, you'll do tons of readings, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do now, to be honest. Like, I could be doing all my work and doing all the readings, but also not know what to, like, how to time manage everything. And on top of that, I'm also a teaching assistant for one of the introduction to communications classes for the undergrads. So I'm like balancing 3 classes with a TA job, and then I have 2 more jobs, and I've never been in this situation before, especially because I'm sitting from like 7 o'clock to like maybe 10 at night, just all on my laptop. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on class, and then I'm going to do my homework, and then I'm going to be doing work, and then I'm going to be on social media for the next like few hours. So that's just my life. I'm like a mess.
Guys, I just also wanted to add that Liza's only 20 and she's already in a master's program. Like, congrats to her. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I know, Liza. So inspiring.
Thanks. It's just, I don't know, but I feel like people see me as like, oh my gosh, you're so young and you are doing so great things. But also, like, for myself, like, I just feel there's so much pressure. No one's pressuring me to get my my master's. Like, I chose to do it, but it just feels like I have to be held up to like a really high standard that is like so impossible to reach, and no one is expecting it from me. It's just my thought of how I see myself. So I don't know. This feels like I'm in therapy, and I'm just like letting you guys know everything about my whole situation. But that's my transition. So some things that people have told me is like, well, I mean, no one knows what they're going to be doing in the next day, the next week, the next year. So I think one advice that people have told me that I'm going to keep with myself when I'm going through this like whole year of the unknown is to just do whatever like you need to do. Like, don't feel like it has to be like X, Y, and Z or A, B, C. You can fall back. I mean, don't slack in school. Don't slack in school, people. But just do whatever you want. Like, explore, but also focus on school. Try a new job. Don't try a new job. Whatever it is, like,
take it day by day.
Take it day by day. You're so right, Connie. And I feel like I just need to like ingrain that in my head. Yeah, that's all about me. So my rant. Thanks for listening.
What about you, Lena? What's your new transition?
So I'm like the opposite of you, Liza. I am older. And
not that much older.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guys, don't make yourself feel like you're older, like a lot more older than me.
But I am going back to school, but I'm going back for graphic design, and I have always experienced school in person, of course, because, you know, back in the day. But it is a little weird on Zoom. It's the reason why I wanted to go back to school was because I thought I was going to be going to classes because it's hard for me to time manage myself. But that didn't happen. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And so that's a weird and fun and big transition for me. I'm really excited and I'm really scared, but I think it's good. I'm the type of person that doesn't like change. So this is like a big thing for me. And I don't know. Some of the kids in my class, they like just graduated high school, and I feel so old. But it's okay. I'm just happy that I'm like, you know, I'm going for graphic design, which is kind of like an art major. And for my whole life, people have been like, don't do art and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, art makes me happy. And I think graphic design is the way that I can actually make money in the real world with, you know, art. So that's how I see it. So I'm excited for this journey. And yeah.
Well, wait, for those who don't know your background, what's your background?
Oh, so I have a BA in English because I really liked reading and I didn't know what else to do. I love reading and writing. But everyone asks me if I'm going to be a teacher because I think that's what, you know, usually English majors go towards. But I am a little shy, so teaching sounds terrifying to me and I don't want to do teaching. So I think art is a way that I can just like be introverted and like, you know, make money and like be happy. So yeah. Is it hot in here, guys?
I feel the same way.
As an introvert, I'm like, I'm so nervous right now.
But I don't know if you know Lena and you've seen her drawings, like they're so nice. Like she also makes stickers, and I mean, I don't have one, which I should get myself one.
I'll give you some.
Oh, perfect.
Guys.
But there's such nice drawings. Like, can you also agree with me, like Connie?
Definitely.
Right?
I think there's one on my hydro flask right now.
If we could only show you guys.
Make more, Lena.
Yeah, this is your sign.
It's my sign. So once I figure out all of the programs, I can start doing that. Nice. Yeah. What about you, Tati?
Oh my goodness, Tati. Yes, please go.
She has a big one.
Yeah, well, breaking news. Over the weekend on Friday, Matt actually proposed to me on the way to a concert, which is so weird to say. But really exciting. So obviously a huge transition there. I don't even know where to begin. I've never really been the one to like dream of my Pinterest wedding or anything, but you know, bits and pieces. But now that it's happening, we're kind of like, are we supposed to plan like the date? Like people are asking us about that. And I'm just like, no, not yet. But you know, obviously all of those things will come, but I've heard that like this first month should be just really like, I guess part of the transition of just like resting and also celebrating. And then after that, then you need to start working. So I'm just kind of like enjoying it and like it's just funny because you've obviously, we've obviously never done this before. So everything's all very new. We're like telling people, but we're like, okay, who do we tell next? We're trying to go very slow and tell everyone like very personally as much as possible. But at the same time, we know that people want to know. So yeah, we're taking it day by day, but it's really exciting. We want it to be at a time where like COVID's not going to be hopefully a big part, but we'll see. I know that next year a lot of venues are already booked, so we're just kind of going to hold off as much as we can in terms of getting in that territory. But yeah, it's all super exciting. Matt asked me on the way to a concert under this like beautiful archway, and like after that we were like dancing under the stars, and it was so
Aw.
pretty. So
cute.
I recommend dancing afterwards. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a good way to like, just enjoy yourself. So
We're so happy for you too.
yeah. I mean, big transition for sure. I'll definitely let everyone know what's going on.
Wow.
I know. Wow.
Oh, sorry.
Go. I was going to say that's so crazy. But yeah, go.
I was going to say, how does it feel being engaged? Like, I can't even wrap my head around it.
I feel like it's weird because when you get like a big life news, you don't usually have like something physical to like represent it. So it's really interesting to have like the ring, obviously, to like you see it, so I feel like when you like you have big things happening, you kind of just like think about it, or there's like something metaphorically, but it's just seeing like the ring every time I look down, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening, it's so crazy. But I feel excited, but I'm also like, it's just so and natural in a way. Like we've kind of been talking about it, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. So yeah, it's a good mix of like a balance of all the emotions, if that makes sense.
Oh. And for those who can't see, I'm going to ask Connie, who is our jewelry maker, to describe Tatu's ring. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think her band was like a Hawaiian bracelet motif, right? And then the cut was a Marquette cut.
Yeah, Marquez or something. I know nothing about that, but Connie was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a Marquez cut." I was like, "Yeah,
What does that mean? I don't know what that
how
means.
do you describe that?
What's that?
What does it look like?
It looks like a eye turned vertically.
I see.
Yeah. Connie is the jewelry, like,
Jewelry designer.
Queen.
Queen of.
Well, when I lived in New York, I worked in the Diamond District for a little bit, so I learned some things.
Ooh, they have a diamond district.
Connie knows
I know.
all.
Didn't know that.
Me too.
Hawaii has a shell district. All right. Taylor, what's going on with you?
So it's so surreal to say this, but after waiting a year and 6 months, I believe I counted correctly, I'm going back to in-person learning at my university. So I actually transferred. So I'll be going to Oregon for the first time as a student. So I'm really excited for that. I'll be a junior majoring in biology still, and junior year is like the biggest year, I feel like, in terms of high school and college and everything like that, because that's when it starts to get more rigorous. So it's nerve-wracking, but I'm really excited overall just to like be with people again and live more independently, since I've just been with my family for the past year.
Oh.
This is for undergrad, right?
Yeah, for undergrad. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Literally, everyone's in a different stage in like their education.
Oh,
Like,
yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Oh, why are you moving to Oregon from, and where are you moving from?
Oh yeah, so I was at a school at California, and then I transferred to Oregon just because the school in California was very like in the middle of nowhere. Like it's about a 40-minute drive away from Napa. So there's nothing really there except for vineyards, obviously. And Oregon is like, or like Portland is just a bigger city overall, and you get to do a lot more things. And I feel like going back to in person too, and hopefully COVID is, I mean, it's starting to get bad again, but hopefully I can do some things there and experience like college for what will feel like the first time again, even though I'll be a junior this time. Yeah.
Taylor, you're going for biology or dentistry?
Yeah, biology, dentistry. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm doing that. So after this year or starting next summer, I'll be taking my DAT, which is like dental admissions test. So I'm like preparing for that. Yeah.
Nice. And for those who don't remember, Taylor was on our first season of the WāhineCo podcast. So thank you for joining us. That was a great episode. So
Yeah, that was fun. I really like that episode.
I know, me too. If you are looking at the season 1 episodes, I think it's called Breakups to Glow Up. So listen to that one. I feel like that's just like, it was like so like girly and so like cool and so like intimate at the same time. Like, yeah, it was just so cool. So listen to that episode if you have the chance.
Yeah.
I think the only other person that needs to share is
Me?
Connie.
Well, thinking back, I feel like my last 2 years have been like a huge transition. For those of you who don't know, I was in grad school for architecture. I just recently finished my doctorate of architecture during May. So that was a huge relief. While in grad school, I was studying abroad in China. So like early on in 2020, I like was living in China for 6 months. Then came back home to Hawaii and was doing school online for another year. And then this summer I had like this part-time job at like Hawaii State Archives. But more recently, I just got a full-time job at like one of my dream architecture firms in Hawaii, and I start tomorrow. So I'm really stoked about that. And like this, like getting hired at this firm made me actually want to get licensed, because before I had like no desire to become a licensed architect, because like you have to complete like thousands of hours and then do 6 exams. And I was like, I'm not doing this after like 7 years of school. But I don't know. I think like this firm is like the right fit for me, and everyone's like very motivating, and yeah, I'm really excited.
Wow. I know you went through like just living in China during COVID, like when they had the lockdown.
Oh yeah.
And then coming back.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like for you?
Well, living in China, I was like living straight up in a village, and all my life I've like lived in cities or like in Honolulu. So it was very different. It helped during that time in China. It helped me figure out like what my values are. And I think being away for so long, now that I'm like in Hawaii, made me want to find like stability in my life, because honestly, like I was planning to move to LA after grad school, but now I think I want to stay here a bit longer. Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yay.
Plus, I have like such amazing friends in Hawaii, and like the weather, like can't beat it.
Totally. Just to reiterate, we have 3 people who are in person. We have Connie, me, Liza, and Lena. And this is our first time doing this, but we have Tati and Taylor on Zoom. So we're like working this out, and we're like talking over like on the break, like, oh, we were cutting in and out. Oh no, you guys were cutting in and out. It was just, we're trying to do the best that we can. Okay.
This is also a new transition, like
stop. I love that. Yes, this is also a new transition, because we were like all on Zoom for our first season, and then in the midst of like starting up our second season, we had the opportunity to be recording in person. And yeah, we're trying to like balance everything out with like people on Zoom and even in person, and seeing how this works out. So
shout out to Hawaii Real Podcast.
Yes, thank you, EO.
And EO.
And then during our break, Tati brought up a really interesting thing that pertains to 3 out of the 5 of us. Tati, do you want to talk about the Saturn return? Like, what is that?
Yeah, we had a good water break. So I don't even know who told me, Connie, I feel like you told me about this, or I saw it online or something, but basically it's called Saturn return. It's like an astrological event that happens, I guess, with people around their 27th to 29 and a half birthday. So obviously going into your 30s, but there's usually like a big event that happens, whether it's like getting engaged or getting a new job or like, graduating or something. So I thought that was really interesting because I feel like Liza said 3 out of 5 of us right now are that age. So, and COVID was like in the middle of that for us. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely somewhat true for the most part, but it's hard to say if you want to believe that or not. But yeah, I mean, when I learned about that, I was like, yeah, there's definitely lots of things happening in the last couple of years. Like I moved, I got engaged this weekend, I got a new job. Like, I definitely think that has some sort of truth to it.
I wanted to add that I learned about the Saturn return when I was talking about my friends going to therapy, because like a lot of us surprisingly are in therapy right now. And I learned about the Saturn return. What was I going with this? Sorry, cut this part out. But yeah, anyways, like the Saturn return is about like dealing with like the problems you have like in your 20s and like even like childhood trauma. Like if you don't deal with this now, you're going to have to deal with it in like another 27 or 29 years. So like when you're reaching your midlife crisis, and if you didn't deal with it in your late 20s, like it's just a repeat.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like having to face your inner like
trauma,
yeah, when it happens,
difficulties,
which I guess usually by the time you're in your late 20s you're starting to realize, like, learn about yourself more. So that really makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. It's probably when it would be interesting to figure out when most people start therapy too, like what age.
I'm sure there's an infographic on that.
I mean, what do Taylor and like Liza think about therapy? Because they're like a little young.
There's a huge stigma too. Yeah, like but now mental health is big. But yeah, what do you guys think? That's a good question.
Taylor, do you want to go first?
I feel like 13 is a pretty good age of when people start to think a lot deeper and more complex, just because like that's the age where you go through a lot. At least that it was like that for me. Kind of like going back to what you're talking about, like I noticed a trend in my own life that starting around the age of 13, every 3 years from that, I experienced something pretty big, or like a major life change. So I have my notes on the side, but like 13 was when I was like depressed, I was anxious, I had an eating disorder. And then 16, I believe that's when I experienced my first friendship breakup. And that was really hard for me. And then around 19, so just last year, I went through my first heartbreak. So I don't know, Liza, if you also feel that way or have seen a trend in your own life.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually thought about like it being in 3 years. I'm sure it's like something along the lines of it. Just from age 13 to like where I'm at now. Like I've experienced like a really big breakup, and what else? Yeah, just like when I was 15, I like lost my mom, and then like a few years later, like I was graduating, but I was also going through a really bad breakup. And then during the pandemic, actually, like around like March of 2020, like the pandemic hit, I was studying abroad, and I chose to come back home from where I was, which was in London. So, I mean, I'm sure those are pretty big like changes in my life personally. But going back to the whole like therapy topic, I feel like people around like me and Taylor's age don't see therapy as in like a bad thing. If anything, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, that's cool that you go to therapy, but you know, there's also those people that are like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, not everything's fine in my life, but I'm sure there's, even if you are like, you consider yourself as like a pretty healthy person emotionally, like I'm sure there's like things that can help you still. Maybe not so like deep rooted into your childhood trauma, but I'm sure there's something that you can talk about in therapy. And I actually just started therapy, let me see, like 2 months ago. And I mean, I'm crying more than ever, but I mean, they're all good tears and lots of awareness and realizations that I'm like finding out about myself, and even digging up things from my childhood that I never thought were problems. But it totally shapes me to how I act and react to things. So
Everything is connected.
everything is connected. Like what you were saying earlier, like if you don't learn the things from like that time frame, it's going to come back to you how many more years later, and it's going to be the same problem. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I learn. I hope I learn.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, guys. That's crazy. I think it's just so nice to know that like therapy has kind of lost that stigma in the last year. So I think that was one of the silver linings of COVID. Just people needed to like talk about all of this, like all the turmoil that's happening. But I'm just glad. I feel like when we were in our early 20s, like I don't really remember, but I don't think we definitely weren't talking about it with our friend group. So that's awesome. That's definitely good news for the future generations.
I feel like when I was in my early 20s, I had like a difficult time talking about like the difficult things in my life, and only recently did I feel comfortable sharing that with my friends. What about you guys? Because you guys are my friends, so did you guys have a hard time?
Yeah, I've always had a hard time like telling people about my problems, because I'm the type of person where I like don't want to bother people, and I want to help people, and I don't want to like bother them with my stuff or whatever. And I'm also an escapist. So I like to just like bury my problems. But I think when we were younger, we thought therapy was kind of like a taboo subject. It was actually, I had a friend that went to therapy in middle school, and I was like, okay, I'll like keep your secret for you. 'Cause I think, it sounds really bad to other kids. Like what's wrong with you? But maybe COVID was good, because then we can actually take a real look at mental health and how important it is. And hopefully it's like changing for the better. And I really I feel like it's like also like a thing for men to accept too, because I feel like our society has kind of done them a disservice to not be able to like talk about their emotions. And so I hope, like, I know us girls feel okay in this space talking about therapy, but like I want eventually guys to be able to like think that it's okay too. Anyway.
No, that's so important.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this whole like topic about what's it called again? Saturn return. Yeah, I think Tati was like mentioning about, I'm sure people around like their late 20s experience like a change or something like really big in their life. And on our break, when we were talking about Saturn return, Lena was telling us that she's like, she doesn't really like change. So I would want her to talk about that, because I'm sure people out there feel the exact same way.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of my besties, Connie and Tati, and Angie, but she's not here right now, but they love change, and I always envy them. They love adventure, and I'm such a creature of habit. And and I'm like, my favorite thing to do is like read fairy tale books in like high school, because I just like to escape my problems. So I'm trying to work on that. And I think going back to school was a really scary decision. And but I know that like from uncomfortableness, is that a word? Comes growth. And yeah, I know like whenever you're feeling like comfortable, everything is just stagnant. It's not gonna do anything for you. So you guys all inspire me to make changes in my life.
Aww.
And
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, we're super proud of you.
Thanks.
A career change is a huge thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
proud of you.
I know. Like, why didn't I do this sooner? But I guess it's my, what do you call it? A Saturn return.
Mhm.
Like I didn't deal with my stuff. I just like read Harry Potter and like went to the beach all the time. So now I have to stop doing that and like face reality. But it's fun so far.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason in terms of timing. And like just in like bringing it back to our theme of transition. I just feel like when you combine it with therapy, like that helps with your transition too. There's just lots of things that can help make the transition easier if you're not like in love with changing of your lifestyle and stuff. So there's lots of ways to like help ease the changes for those who don't really like it.
What you were saying is definitely important. Like change is something that helps you grow. But I also think like a lot of us felt that stagnancy too because of COVID, and we all were trying to get through that stagnancy too. And I think, I don't know about all of you, but I think that I found some type of peace with that as well, like not constantly being on the go all the time, and just learning how to be by myself again, especially like after leaving school and going through a breakup, like trying to be by myself and learn what I like to do. And I think that's also valid because everyone went through that because of the pandemic.
That's so true. Yeah, I guess I'm like, change has to be like, it has to look so dramatic, but it can also be like a change from your normal lifestyle, which is like sitting at home all the time, which is really hard.
I guess like that's a really good transition. Oh, speaking of transitions,
good one, Liza.
I know, thanks. I'm trying to be witty. I think that's just a really good transition to all of us shared what we are going through, and we talked about therapy, we talked about Saturn return, we talked about some of us not being able to want to like change, but is also like willing to step out of their comfort zone and be like, okay, let's experience this change. What is this growth? I guess a question that I have for all of us is what is like something that someone has told you, or maybe like you've kept in your back pocket that's like helps you with your transition? It doesn't have to be necessarily like a big transition in your life, but like maybe when you were in middle school going to high school, or someone told you something about when you're about to start your first job. Like, is there any advice or any teaching that someone has given you, or maybe you've learned from yourself from like reading online or something like that, that can help you in this current season that you are in?
I think one thing I learned, because I've heard it from multiple people because I'm such a perfectionist, but not to be so hard on yourself. I think a lot of people are afraid of changes because they're afraid of failure. And then when you're like a perfectionist, like failing is not an option, so like you end up being your worst critic, and then that just puts you in like this downward spiral. So just being more gentler on yourself, like change, like it's hard, but like people know it's hard, so they cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, that's so true.
How about you guys?
I just love when you can kind of tell people about what you're going through, and they'll provide like actual advice if they've gone through that exact event too. I feel like we're often like think that we're the only ones going through something, like getting a new job, or a friend breakup, or romantic relationship or something. But there's always kind of someone who you can find that's went through something, and you can confide in that person and get some advice, because there's probably going to be someone who went through something very similar. So you don't have to feel so like alone. And I know therapy is one thing, but also talking to someone who like has gone through something very similar, and usually you can find that person like somehow. And
it always brings you like two people closer together too, when like I feel like people love giving advice. And
they do.
Yeah,
they do.
Especially if you ask someone for advice, I feel like when it's warranted advice, like it's just a nice conversation, because it also builds your relationship, like you said.
Anything that resonated with you, Liza?
Oh, yeah. I feel like as I was listening to Tati speak, just this thing just comes back into my mind, where whenever I go through a hard time, not necessarily just a transition, but I have a tendency to close myself in, and I don't want to tell people my problems. I think that's what Lena was talking about too, because I don't want it to be a burden on them. But I feel like I treat words as like baggage in a sense. So it's like if I open up to you, I'm not expecting for you to like help me or make me like necessarily feel better. Most of the times I just want to like let it out, but also like if I were to be on the receiving end to receive like someone's like hurt, guilt, trauma, whatever they're going through, I feel like their problems suddenly become my problems. So my mind sees it in that way and still kind of does. And I feel like I don't want to tell people my problems because I don't want them to feel bad for me, but also like I don't want them to also see me in a light where, Liza's not as perfect as she is, because I am also a perfectionist. So I feel like I went through multiple train ways as I was talking about my situation. But yeah, I'm a person to like ball up when things get so hard, and I don't want to reach out to people. So like with therapy, like I'm learning to be more open. It's so hard because I still see it in that mentality that I always have been, and it's gonna take so much time to break through that habit. So yeah.
I know this sounds super cliche, but perfection really is overrated. And that's something I had to learn like the hard way, because like I feel like the best stories are when you go through something difficult or like it doesn't come so easy to you, you know?
So true.
Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's very true.
Does anyone want to add anything else before we close out on our time?
I want to hear from Taylor.
Yeah.
I guess going on the other side of that, for more of like a exciting type of transition, I just feel like because it relates to a lot of like what we're all going through, it's a very new and exciting time, but also definitely nerve-wracking too. But since I went to school and then for like a year, and then I came back because of the pandemic, and then I'm going back again, I feel like I learned a lot during that time. And so what I hope to do the second time around is just soak it all in, soak in all the memories, and allow my parents to smother me and allow them to miss me, and also allow myself to miss them too. And I think just cherishing the little things here and there, even with getting a new job or getting engaged, or just reminding yourself throughout the whole change and the whole experience, to just hang on to those little things and like take little mini what is that called? Like take little shots in your brain of it and try to remember that memory, because yeah, I mean, it's all those little details that we don't remember years on end, but it's very important to how we transition and grow from there.
That's great. It makes me want to make like a timeline like you did, Taylor, a little like what the big events in my life were like, and just see the
Like in
bigger
school.
things.
That's so true. That sounds fun.
Yeah, we should
But
do it.
By
Next
the
time.
way, Taylor has her own podcast. Taylor, do you want to talk about it like for 1 second?
Sure. I mean, I haven't really posted anything, but if there's anything that I can talk about is that my friend and I were thinking of starting a podcast together, and it's kind of in the works, just because we're both transitioning, or both having major transitions in our lives right now, because she got a new job and she's starting school again, and I'm starting to move back and everything. So I'm not sure, but I'll keep you posted.
Keep an eye
But
out.
mainly
Keep an
we
eye
talk
out.
about, oh no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, keep an eye out.
Okay, yeah. Mostly we talk about like the same things that you all, you ladies talk about, just like the everyday and the ups and downs, and trying to give our advice to the best of our abilities.
What's your podcast called?
My podcast is called Let's Get Chatty.
Oh, that's so
Cute.
cute.
So it's like a twist on my name. So it's like chatty.
I'm just curious, but like what made you want to go into podcasting?
Well, first of all, I just thought it would be a really fun and creative project, because I've been wanting to do YouTube for a really long time, but then that just seemed very time consuming. So I was like, I'll just try to start a podcast, because you just pick up a mic and you try it, and like, how hard can that be? It's very hard. I don't think anyone really knows how hard it is because you have all those like little details that you need to think about like the sound quality and everything. But overall, I just wanted to reach out to like my general cohort and see what types of things that they're going through and see how I can try to relay my advice. And for the most part, it has reached more people than I thought it would, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yay, that's awesome. More podcasts.
Hopefully.
You know, everyone is going through change, no matter where they are in life or what they're doing, because it's COVID and it's such a huge impact on our lives. And I think what we got out of it was that change is not always going to be comfortable. It kind of sucks and it's scary, but I think you need to embrace it to grow from it. I don't know. What do you guys think about change?
I think change is always going to happen in your life. I mean, it'd be sad if you weren't changing anything about your life, but like just to grow from it, just be comfortable with change and like learn how to deal with change will ultimately help you in the long run. I think that's why I like change so much, because before I was such an introvert. I was like super nervous, couldn't even like do a presentation without like shaking, but like I embraced change and I'm like a little less nervous in front of the camera now.
I'll say something quick. Just, having that mindset shift that just if something seems negative, it's not necessarily a negative experience. It's just like something that kind of maybe sets you back, but may bring you like 5 steps forward in the long run. So just try to look at the positive as much as possible, because a negative event may seem really bad, but there's a reason that it's happening. So try to like let yourself stumble through it for a few days or a couple hours, but then, realize that like the world isn't pitted against you and you can use that as leverage to like learn from your mistakes. So I think that applies to like something that seems like a negative transition, like it's getting you to where you need to be. So
that's great advice, Tati.
Yay.
Well said.
Very well.
Thanks for listening.
Also wanted to add something quick to that everything is temporary, whether it's good or it's bad. So if it's good, try to soak it all in, embrace the change. But also if it's bad, remember that there are other people who also feel the same way as you, and that you are valid in how you feel, and that you are able to get help either through therapy or just by telling someone that you need help.
Yeah, and I feel like with just like the whole transition, I feel like what I've learned from it is it's okay that if you're going through a transition that you don't need to have the next 5 steps already planned out. It's okay if you don't. And even with a transition, like I feel like the outcome could always turn out even better than what you think of, or in a way where it's best for your for yourself at that time. So don't try to plan out your life to the T.
It never goes to plan.
It never goes to plan. And also what Connie was saying, embrace change. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that was really good advice, guys.
I know.
I feel very
Yeah, it just feels so nice to have told you guys everything about what's going on in my life.
I know.
Yeah.
We just caught up. Like I haven't seen you, Liza, in so long.
Oh my God,
so
yeah.
It's very nice.
Look at that.
And Taylor, I haven't seen you since our last podcast.
I know.
No, crazy.
That was
Yeah,
a
we've
long
been
time
trying
ago.
to have different like sets of people on podcasts, like 4 to 5 people instead of the full team. So
Yeah.
It'd be kind of hard to talk with like the whole team.
Yeah.
We should try it once. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
but
We have.
oh really?
Well, I feel
It's
like-
hard.
I feel like if we have 3 like in person and then 3 online, or 4 in person, 2
Yeah.
online, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a lot more
Yeah.
easier.
We'll see how it all goes.
Yeah. I think this flow was really good. I feel like we were so natural for this episode.
Yeah.
I feel like it just gets it gets better and better. I don't know. Yeah.
Is this
Yeah, I
all
feel like
still in the
we worked
podcast,
off
or are we
of
just
your guys'
chit-chatting now?
energy.
I don't know, to be honest.
we can wrap it up. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was our episode on transitions. So many of us are going through transitions. I'm sure we're not the only ones. But just to close it off, we just want to thank Island Bungalow for providing the decor for this episode. Also to Hawaiian Springs Water for being our beverage host. And also thank you to WāhineCo Podcast. Thank you, Io, for just providing the equipment and the setup and just the space to record this podcast in. Thank you for listening to our episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.